This absolute gem is fully completed, so get comfortable and get ready to binge. Our main character, Fang Yuan, literally just ran into his secret wife at a bar. Talk about awkward.
She is holding her first love's hand, while he brought his own date along.
And get this, just 10 minutes ago, they literally texted each other their plans.
She claims she was in a meeting, and he said he was working late.
In front of others, they both silently agree to act like complete strangers.
They shake hands with friendly smiles, but when they finally get home that night, things change. She suddenly grabs him tight with a dangerously sharp smile on her face. She asks if he is playing around, and honestly, running into her was wild. Fang Yuan tries to leave immediately, but his clueless friend grabs him and stops him.
He drags him over to Bai Ningbing, smiling like a total suck-up to introduce them. Meet the powerful manager of Xinzhuo, the wealthy heiress herself, Bai Ningbing. Then, the friend introduces our boy Fang Yuan as the top director at Chengyi. His professional skills are top tier, the friend boasts, giving a big thumbs up. If you ever have projects, hit him up. Our man Fang Yuan's business skills are elite. While the friend keeps babbling away, Fang Yuan's eyes lock directly with Bai Ningbing's.
She's clinging to He Qiang, but her cold gaze drops to his hand holding Shen Youwei's. She freezes slightly, then flashes a playful smirk, saying she has heard so much about him.
She extends her hand, asking if directors really visit bars when they're supposed to be busy.
She sneers that he should be working overtime while digging her nails into his palm.
He winces from the pain, but immediately fires back, saying he thought Boss Bai was busy. He expected her to be in some super important meeting. As their eyes lock, their eyes clash with pure danger before they both release each other and look away.
Everyone in their booth is from their social circle, but nobody knows they're actually married.
When they tied the knot, they didn't tell a single soul besides their parents. After 7 long years of marriage, everyone around them still thinks they're totally single. People are constantly trying to set them up, and right now is no exception. And who would have thought that He Qiang is actually Bai Ningbing's first love? Who knew our cold heiress is actually a pure-hearted romantic? The friend laughs, raising a glass. The friend says she never married after He Qiang went abroad 7 years ago. Supposedly, she was waiting longingly for him, which is hilarious because she is literally married. Even with tons of wealthy, high-quality bachelors chasing after her all these years, she refused. She turned everyone down, waiting faithfully like a heroine in some old tragic romance. Now that He Qiang is back, they instantly reunited, and their wedding seems close. They will definitely have to invite us for wedding drinks, the friend laughs, as Fang Yuan looks up. Under the dim bar lights, He Qiang has his arm draped over Bai Ningbing's shoulder. He glares directly at Fang Yuan, giving him this incredibly punchable, arrogant smirk. It is a look of absolute triumph over a loser, so Fang Yuan simply turns away. With a quiet, dry chuckle, he realizes humans are incredibly forgetful creatures. Back then, the crushing heartbreak kept him awake all night, leaving him unable to breathe. He thought he would never heal from that agony, but looking back at it now, it is nothing. The memories have faded into a complete blur, and whoever she ends up with, it is fine. Honestly, the emotional payoff here is so satisfying. He is completely over her drama. Since Fang Yuan and Bai Ningbing have never been seen in public together before, nobody knows. The clueless friend thinks they are total strangers, turning to her to introduce him. Our boy Fang Yuan had been single for years, never finding the right girl. But he chuckled, saying he finally met a sweet girl who tamed his wild heart. It is literally the first time anyone has seen him this serious. Wedding bells might be ringing soon. Right beside him, Shen Youwei gently holds his hand with a sweet, curving smile. Only 3 months into legal marriage age. The dim, noisy bar could not mask her pure, innocent eyes. She looks like a spoiled princess, but those puppy eyes are incredibly bright. Once she chooses her guy, she sticks to him like glue, which low-key melts his heart. Wait, but their first meeting? Honestly, it is pure romance manhwa vibes. He was giving a lecture at his old university, and Shen Youwei was not even in his major. She just wanted easy attendance points, but the moment he finished speaking and tried to leave, boom. She ran straight up and blocked him. He thought she was just a clueless freshman. He patiently stopped to listen.
Instead, her eyes were glued to him like a puppy staring at a juicy bone. She straight up blurted out, "Senior, can I please get your WeChat?" He froze. They looked nothing alike. Both were gorgeous, but in entirely different ways. Yet in that exact moment, he saw a flash of 22-year-old Bai Ningbing. That same tsundere look, lifting her chin and calling him Junior.
She demanded his contact info. Possessed, he complied.
He pulled out his phone to scan her QR code. Later, Shen Youwei confessed something wild. The instant she laid eyes on him, she felt like Cupid had locked on. Except Cupid did not use arrows. He blasted her heart with a massive cannon. She did not hear a single word of his 2-hour lecture because she was too busy staring. He did not lie. He confessed he was married. She was heartbroken, but she still proposed a wild deal. "Divorce your wife before I turn 20 and I will forgive you." She slumped her shoulders. It literally looked like puppy ears had sprouted on her head, drooping so pitifully. At that point, they had exactly 15 months. He had just completely cut ties with Bai Ningbing. The blowout? Trust me, she completely crossed the line here. Honestly, he knew everything about their past. All three of them went to the same high school. They were perfect on paper. Back in high school, their loud romance was legendary.
Meanwhile, he was just an ordinary guy with a secret crush.
Just a background character, while they stayed together for 7 years.
They only split up after graduating college.
And the reason? Ridiculously simple.
Both were incredibly prideful prodigies, and Bai Ningbing had a massive spoiled princess attitude. Neither would ever back down, causing constant screaming matches. Finally, He Qiang packed his bags and left the country. She did not chase him. They were done. Later, she started hanging around his basketball games. She asked for his number, which felt like a dream. He believed she actually liked him, but the truth is low-key heartbreaking. Honestly, Bai Ningbing only chose our boy because she was bored after He Qiang left.
It was simple. She was heartbroken and wanted comfort.
Her parents were pressuring her to marry, and the main character's perfect background made him the ideal shield. Completely clueless. He just foolishly loved her, thinking it was real. Thinking she felt the same. Just bitter laughter. How stupid! Bai Ningbing narrows her eyes. Twirling her glass with slender fingers, she smirks. President Fang, still single at your big age. Did you sneak out behind your wife's back to play with young girls? He looks over through the noisy crowd. Bai Ningbing is easily the most eye-catching one there with her killer curves. Her sharp features are absolutely stunning, and her bold-winged eyeliner makes those seductive eyes pop. Time hasn't touched her at all. She's only gotten more alluring. Lounging lazily in a tight black dress. The thin fabric stretching tightly over her chest shows off some crazy curves. Every guy in the club is staring, but our main character calmly takes another sip of his drink. He calmly fires back. "President Bai, I'm surprised you're still single too." Are you also sneaking out behind your husband's back to have a secret reunion with your first love? Talk about awkward. No one knows why they're at each other's throats the moment they met. It gets worse. Bai Ningbing and He Qiang start shamelessly flirting right in front of him. He Qiang even grabs her chin, pouring amber liquor down her throat, passing it with a deep kiss to loud cheers. Wiping the spilled wine from her lips, Bai Ningbing looks over and gives our main character a highly provocative smirk. Honestly, old him would have lost his mind, but at this point, he just smirks right back. One more. Her smile freezes and she snaps. "Old Fang, you do one too, since you brought a date." A few tipsy friends hand drinks to him and his date, Shen Youwei. They wink, demanding to see some kissing skills. Now, Shen Youwei comes from a wealthy family that easily matches Bai Ningbing. But since she grew up extremely sheltered with a strict upbringing, she rarely hangs out in this wild crowd. Since he is her very first love, her ears turn bright red from embarrassment. But look at Bai Ningbing. Her fake smile completely crumbles as she grips her glass in pure jealousy. Our main character hates showing off in public and doesn't want to play along. Too late.
Her eyes are glistening as she tilts her gorgeous face up to stare at him.
A sudden shock.
The sweet girl he thought of as a kid has somehow grown up. Staring at his lips, her mouth looks rosy.
Oppa, kiss me.
In this exact instant, he finally understands what it means to be both innocent and incredibly seductive. Usually sweet and innocent, but at 5'6", she actually has a killer body, and hearing her call him Oppa completely ruins him. She usually looks so innocent, almost childish, but at this moment,
Her eyes are flushed red from alcohol, carrying a subtle, seductive gleam. Looking at her gorgeous face, Fang Yuan cannot help but gulp.
there is absolutely no way he can say no, but right before they kiss, oh snap, his wife, Bai Ningbing, suddenly stands up with a furious expression. She moves so violently that she knocks several glasses right off the table. They shatter loudly all over the floor, completely startling everyone around. Nobody has any idea what her deal is, so Fang Yuan instinctively backs away. But Shen Youwei just giggles, wrapping her slender arms around his neck.
She leans in, planting a gentle, beer-scented kiss right on his lips.
Back home, Fang Yuan turns on the lights to find his wife scowling on the couch. Honestly, she has been pulling a sour face since they were at the bar. Seriously, she looked like everyone in the room owed her millions. He completely ignores her, just takes off his shoes and walks away.
Bai Ningbing sneers sarcastically. Working overtime at a bar now, are we?
Fang Yuan shrugs. Well, director, weren't you also having a meeting there?
She doesn't even light the slender lady's cigarette held between her fingers.
The ash grows long, but she doesn't flick it, only focusing on mocking him. Oh, you are really something, taking young girls to nightclubs now? He turns on her. You're the one who said we should live separate lives.
What's with the attitude now? Don't tell me you were actually jealous.
Jealous? She sneers, crushing the unlit cigarette. You are dreaming.
I'm only saying this because we still have a marriage contract.
Just a warning, those immature kids are completely unreliable.
Fang Yan rolls his eyes.
And you were any different back then? Besides, you aren't exactly reliable either. With that, he enters the bathroom. He strips down and turns on the shower, ready to wash off the day. But suddenly, the door swings open. He squints through the steam. Before he can even react, a warm, soft body presses against his back. Fang Yuan frowns, but Bai Ningbing locks him in.
She smugly asks if some clueless kid could ever satisfy him like she does.
Her voice is low and raspy in the locked bathroom as she whispers his name, Fang Yuan.
But Fang Yuan just sneers, suddenly turning around to grab her waist tightly. He takes full control. Her eyes immediately go hazy. A smug smirk spreads across her face as she slowly stands on her tiptoes to kiss him. And then, boom, right before their lips can touch, he just gives her a cold smile. He shoves her away, hard. Bai Ningbing stumbles backward. She glares in pure shock.
Fang Yuan snatches a towel to cover up, coldly spitting out a single word. Get out.
Bai Ningbing's face instantly goes dark, and all that suppressed rage in her eyes finally explodes. She screams in pure fury. Fang Yuan, do you really despise me that much? She is only wearing lace lingerie. Staring at her, Fang Yuan just freezes up completely. He's dazed. He can't stop comparing her to the photo He Qiang sent him. Everything overlaps now. It was He Qiang's birthday, the exact day Fang Yuan got into a brutal wreck. While he was left suffering all alone in a hospital bed, she was busy lying in He Qiang's sheets. That is actually crazy. She's standing there completely naked, her neck and shoulders covered in unmistakable, scandalous red marks. The white moonlight, He Qiang, took her photo and sent it over without saying a single word. Talk about a brutal slap to the face. The silence from that text felt absolutely deafening. His ears are literally ringing as he clenches his jaw, trying to hold it together. Fighting back absolute nausea, he points straight to the door, telling her to get the hell out. Bai Ningbing just stares at him for a hot minute, her fists clenching so hard her knuckles turn white. Her eyes are swimming with some weird, unreadable emotion, but then she suddenly slams the door shut and storms out of there. Our boy closes his eyes under the shower, letting the warm water wash over him.
But nothing can wash away that deep, bone-chilling disgust because her very touch makes him feel sick to his stomach.
Beyond disgusting. And to think, finding out she never actually forgot He Qiang all started...
That happened 3 years into their marriage, back when things were actually going pretty well between them. Honestly, she was a pretty top-tier wife back then. Gorgeous, sweet, and totally perfect. They were super close in the bedroom, too, and she didn't act like one of those typical spoiled, out-of-touch rich kids. She always headed straight home right after work. She never missed an anniversary either, even making sure to personally cook his favorite meals.
She'd rest her chin on her hand, smilingly asking if the food was delicious, and they would sleep tightly in each other's arms.
They looked like a genuinely happy couple, until that one fateful night when they were getting intimate. A drop of his sweat dripped onto her collarbone, and she subconsciously whispered her ex's name, He Qiang.
It felt like a total physical blow. His mind went completely, utterly blank. It's just like finding a single cockroach in the house. You know there are actually countless others hiding in the dark.
Well, he started uncovering more and more, like the chats she absolutely refused to delete from her phone. Old cropped photos hidden away, and even a secret alt account she used to stalk him online. He started throwing massive screaming fights, his sanity completely and utterly shattered by her lies. Begging, threatening, screaming, crying. Honestly, our boy tried absolutely every trick in the book to save them. But none of it worked, and she just coldly threw a single sentence right in his face. If you can't handle it, she said, then just divorce me. That was the exact moment he realized those years of marriage were actually just a sad delusion of mutual love. The truth was, she had never actually loved him. Her heart always belonged to someone else, and no matter how many years he spent with her.
He could never compete with her 7-year history with He Qiang, so he trapped himself in a lifetime prison of endless misery.
For who knows how long, those memories coiled inside him like venomous snakes. Usually lurking deep inside him, they'd creep out at midnight to sink their venomous fangs into his flesh, gnawing at his heart over and over, right up until the day she flew to England just to celebrate He Qiang's birthday. Left all alone, he spent the entire night staring out the window, and even now, he still remembers how the moon looked. So round, so bright, and absolutely freezing cold. After that day, our boy checked out. He was completely done. Plus, his mother-in-law absolutely despised He Qiang anyway. Turns out the two families actually had some old history and beef between them years ago. But her mother actually adored our MC, constantly looking out for him over the years. She'd even chew out her own daughter for him. But sadly, she fell terminally ill a year ago. According to the doctors, it was basically a countdown. She only had a couple of years left. Not wanting to stress her dying mother at all, she proposed they delay the official divorce until after she passed. As compensation for the wait, she offered him a sweet chunk of her company's shares. He agreed, but honestly, it was never about the money. He just genuinely wanted to show respect to her mother, and from then on, they basically lived separate lives. Honestly, she didn't even show her face at home for a whole week. Only on his mother's birthday do they actually ride together. Act natural, the trash husband warns. Do not let his mom find out. Steering with one hand, he snaps at Fang Yuan to keep his friends from calling. Mess up, and those 7% shares are gone. Our boy just sneers back. Silence fills the car as they head to his mother's mountain villa. But halfway up the winding road, everything goes sideways. Suddenly, the husband's phone rings. He answers instantly, making Fang Yuan look away in utter disgust. Honestly, this is low-key heartbreaking. Our boy used to call him constantly, but the guy never answered. What a naive fool. If someone actually cares, they will make time. If you do not matter, you get nothing. And then the caller says something urgent. Bai Ningbing slams on the brakes and screeches to a halt. Our boy almost eats the windshield. The husband cold-heartedly tells him to get out and walk. Are you insane? At least drive me up. But the husband insists He Qiang has an emergency and shoves him out. He literally ejects the seat, throwing our boy onto the dirt. He almost sprains his ankle. Before he can even yell, the car speeds away in a cloud of dust. What an absolute clown of a husband. Fang Yuan pulls out his phone, only to freeze. There is zero signal up on this mountain. Left with no choice, he grits his teeth and starts walking.
After all, Bai Ningbing's mother has always been incredibly sweet to him.
She cooks for him herself. She even memorizes his favorite dishes to cook them every single time.
This actually made her own son super jealous.
He complained he barely got her homemade food growing up.
When she first found out her son was cheating, she lost her mind. She dragged herself up anyway. She grabbed a rolling pin and beat him, saying Fang Yuan deserved better.
She screamed what kind of spell that He Qiang guy had cast over him.
Now, her time is running out.
Even if her son is trash, Fang Yuan refuses to abandon her.
His bad leg hurts.
He usually hides the limp, but walking this far is impossible. He keeps pushing.
By the time the villa is close, his knee is completely numb. Suddenly, his phone finally buzzes with signal. It is a close friend from the hospital who knows about his marriage. Only silence answers. Finally, his friend stammers that he just saw Bai Ningbing at the hospital. She showed up at the hospital with some guy, and he even visited the OBGYN. And then she sent our MC a photo on WeChat. Right there at the ward entrance, Bai Ningbing was carefully supporting He Qiang, looking incredibly worried for him. His friend went quiet, probably trying not to rub salt in his wounds. Honestly, this is low-key heartbreaking already. Our MC just stared blankly at that photo until a single raindrop splashed onto his screen. He looked up in a daze, only just realizing it was raining. The mountain rain hits fast, and he was soaked in seconds, the icy chill sinking straight into his bones. Heading down was impossible now. He had to keep climbing. In the freezing wind and rain, he suddenly remembered a memory from years ago. High school days, late night, he ran into some punks. They were surrounding and harassing a girl wearing his school uniform. The Gray fought back and slapped their blonde leader, which completely set him off. He punched her straight in the stomach, doubling her over. But she still refused to back down, making the thugs even more furious. They started getting way more violent, and our MC, being young and hot-headed, shouted for them to stop, but they completely ignored him. There was no way he could just stand by and watch them hurt a girl. He rushed over and brawled with them. Luckily, he had some martial arts training. He threw heavy hands, quickly knocking them down. But then two of them pulled out baseball bats, aiming straight for the girl's head. If that hit actually landed, it was going to be fatal. So he grit his teeth and shielded her. The bat slammed violently into his leg, and he felt his shin bone literally shatter in pain. He stumbled and collapsed hard onto the pavement, but those guys thought he was with the girl, so they started beating him even worse.
He took hit after hit until someone finally called the police.
The punk scattered when the sirens wailed, and he barely managed to grab the girl's wrist. He coughed up blood, telling her not to worry, before completely blacking out. He woke up in a hospital bed, learning his leg was badly fractured. He had multiple injuries and had already undergone major surgery. After working through that, his parents took him back to his hometown to help him recover. He had almost forgotten about that night, until he got into a car accident years later. The doctor noted that his leg had an old, severe injury.
It would complicate his recovery, so they needed family to sign the consent form.
He called Bai Ningbing, but she brushed him off, claiming she was in a meeting. With no other choice, he signed it himself. But the next night, as he lay in his hospital bed, He Qiang sent him that devastating photo. That was the exact moment he realized there was never a company meeting. No shot, the absolute audacity of this girl. It was He Qiang's birthday, and Bai Ningbing had rushed over to celebrate with him. She literally traveled miles just to throw herself at him. Inside, the window was dirty. The moon outside shone bright, casting a cold, pale glow over everything. A sudden, sharp pain ripped through his chest, slowly spreading to his core. It felt like his entire body was breaking. He hated sounding dramatic, but this hurt. In that exact moment, there was simply no other word for it. While he was in agony, Bai Ningbing was sleeping peacefully in He Qiang's arms. Meanwhile, Fang Yuan stays awake all night in the hospital, and that is when everything changes. He finally wakes up to reality, refusing to wait for her ever again. When he finally rings the villa doorbell, the nanny is completely shocked to see him back. Before she can even ask what happened, he just waves her off and heads to the shower.
He does not want his mother-in-law to see him looking a complete mess when her time is already running out.
There is absolutely no need to stress her out anymore, so he cleans himself up first.
Only after getting fully cleaned up does he walk into his mother-in-law's room, finding her lying quietly in bed.
Seeing this once incredibly elegant and beautiful woman now looking so painfully thin and fragile is honestly heartbreaking. Her face is completely pale, but the sound of the door opening gently wakes her up. Her eyes slowly flutter open, and a tiny spark of light returns when she whispers, "Fang Yuan." He quickly sits down beside her bed and tightly holds her frail hand, smiling as he calls her mom. He lies gently, telling her she looks much better and more energetic today. She coughs a couple of times, but still manages to force a weak, loving smile onto her face.
She whispers she does not have much time left, and he stays silent.
Instead of talking about his misery, he just shares some funny stories from the past few days until he eventually runs out of things to say.
Since he has nothing left to say, he falls silent while his mother-in-law slowly leans back against her pillows.
After a heavy silence, he gently pats her hand, calling her mom one more time.
He tells her to get some rest and promises to visit again soon. But just as he stands up to make his exit, she suddenly calls out to stop him. She drops a massive bomb, telling him to divorce Ningbing immediately. She asks if Ningbing is still messing around with that guy, but he quickly tries to laugh it off. He tells her not to worry, but she notes that his eyes aren't smiling.
She looks at him with complete seriousness, pointing at her own mouth to show that while his lips might be smiling, his face is not.
Pointing directly to her chest, she says his heart is crying inside.
Even while gasping for air, she insists on speaking the painful truth to him.
She pushes through to finish her words, leaving him completely and utterly speechless.
She tells him not to force this marriage just for her sake, since he is still young.
Forcing a smile, she urges him to get that divorce and finally live his own life.
For some reason, hearing those kind words makes a 30-year-old grown man like him completely tear up with emotion. She gently pats the back of his hand, softly telling him that he has always been a good kid. She begs him not to waste his life on an old woman, and his throat tightens in pain. He cannot even find his voice, but she just offers him a gentle, loving smile.
She softly tells him that just having him visit one last time makes her incredibly happy already. With great effort, she reaches into her drawer and pulls out a heavy document envelope. She hands it over, explaining that it contains 13% of her company shares to make up for all the ways Ningbing has mistreated him. Literally forcing the shares into his hands, she gives him the ultimate validation he deserved.
Insisting he must take it, she begs him to take good care of himself. Stunned by the gesture, he immediately tries to push it back and refuse.
He tells her he cannot accept this, but she just smiles and gently strokes his hair.
Telling him never to suffer for anyone again, she bids him farewell, and he skips going home.
Instead, he goes straight to Shen Youwei, who is thrilled to see him at her door. But the moment she touches his hand, her face drops as she asks why he is burning up. He touches his own forehead, only now realizing that his body is actually running a dangerously high fever. Shen Youwei quickly guides him to bed and carefully tucks him in with the blankets.
Stepping out for a quick moment, she soon returns with a warm cup of ginger tea.
She gently helps our boy up, making him drink something warm to sweat out the fever. Then she slides right into bed next to him. He frowns, telling her to stay back so she doesn't catch his cold. But she just kisses his cheek anyway, claiming she isn't scared, before pulling out her phone and asking if he's bored. When she offers to tell him a bedtime story, our guy seriously doesn't know whether to laugh or cry.
Like, why would a grown man need a bedtime story? But Shen Youwei completely ignores his protests.
Wrapping her arms around his neck, she clears her throat and starts with, "Once upon a time, there was a princess."
Her skin was as white as snow, and her hair was as dark as ebony. With blood-red lips and a pitch-black heart, she was bad news. So she was called the Black-Hearted Princess. One day, the prince kissed her.
She coughed, spitting the poison apple right out of her throat.
Just like that, she came back to life, and the two of them got married. Our guy thinks the fairy tale is finally over and is just about to close his eyes. But then Shen Youwei keeps going, but after the wedding, things changed. The prince realized his black-hearted princess was a serial cheater who treated him like absolute garbage. So he shoved that poison apple right back down her throat and choked her to death. Next, he married a princess who was super young and absolutely gorgeous.
She was perfect for him, and they lived happily ever after. Talk about a savage twist to Snow White. Seriously, our guy is completely speechless at this wild version of the fairy tale.
Shen Youwei just smirks, her lips curving up as her soft hand gently pats him. The night breeze softly sways the light curtains as she keeps comforting him. Outside, the faint sweet scent of gardenias drifts in through the open window. Streetlights filter through the curtains, casting a soft, peaceful glow over the room. She feels so warm, her arms still wrapped tightly around his neck, refusing to let go. It's like she's a little kid holding onto her absolute most precious treasure in the world. Honestly, it's such a comforting vibe, even though she is way younger than him. Right before he finally drifts off to sleep, she makes him feel incredibly safe. But then he hears a soft whisper in his ear, "Hurry up and divorce." The princess is waiting. The next morning, our guy heads back home early to handle business. Bai Ningbing is already sitting on the sofa watching him walk through the door. She immediately throws a fit, demanding to know where he was and why he didn't pick up. Well, he was fast asleep at Shen Youwei's place with his phone on silent. Checking his screen, he sees 3 missed calls from his soon-to-be ex-wife. All from Bai Ningbing, but he just coldly tells her it's none of her business. Her face drops, and she awkwardly tries to explain herself. Talk about a guilty conscience. She claims He Qiang was sick yesterday, and that his health has always been weak. He just puts on his slippers, completely annoyed, telling her she doesn't need to explain. Before, any little thing she did with He Qiang would have driven him absolutely insane. He used to break his heart, but now he literally couldn't care less about them. He's only back to end this marriage, throwing the divorce papers right in her face. Her own mother already knows everything and transferred all her company shares to him. He warns her to keep her measly 7% as he demands a fast divorce. If she stalls, he'll submit the affair photos He Qiang sent directly to the court. Bai Ningbing completely freezes. He kept those painful photos for a reason, you guys. Every single glance at that betrayal reminded him why his love for her was completely dead. She complains, asking if they did not agree to delay the divorce. Bai Ningbing frowns at Fang Yuan, asking why he is so impatient. Is he that eager to be with her? She scoffs, asking if she is any better. She mocks their age gap, asking if they even have anything to talk about. Will their love even last after 10 whole years? She just shakes her head in disgust.
Calling him childish, she sighs, but Fang Yuan just turns and looks at her.
This is the very woman he once married with absolute joy and love. But now she just looks completely repulsive. Fang Yuan sneers without holding back, saying anyone is better than a cheap cheater. He asks Bai Ningbing how she can be so shameless after wasting someone's life. Calling her out for being utterly shameless, he completely shuts her down right on the spot. He asks if his life is a joke, meant to be just background noise for her trashy affair. Fang Yuan steps closer, staring straight into her eyes as he mocks her. He asks if everyone knows she is just a cheap homewrecker when she is with He Qiang. Bai Ningbing stands up abruptly, telling him to watch his mouth. Fang Yuan sneers, saying their trashy actions are way uglier than his words. He snaps that he has no time to waste and demands she sign the divorce agreement. Honestly, he does not even care what she does with her lover anymore. Bai Ningbing stares back with icy cold eyes before her lips slowly curl into a chilling smile. She gives him a lifeless smirk, warning Fang Yuan not to regret this decision. Fang Yuan laughs and hands her the pen. She glares at him with pure hatred before gritting her teeth and signing her name. Throwing the papers right at him, this divorce payoff feels so satisfying. See you tomorrow at 9 a.m. sharp. Be there, he says, marking the final day of this nightmare marriage. Fang Yuan is absolutely thrilled and immediately shares the amazing news with Shen Youwei. She is so happy she might explode. Registering their marriage immediately is her absolute top priority tomorrow morning. She wants to save him a trip and is ready to grab her documents right now. He barely managed to stop her rush. After agreeing to wait until they meet parents, they both head to a wedding. Although Fang Yuan and Bai Ningbing drove separately, they end up seated together. Fang Yuan completely ignores her. She drops it into He Qiang's plate, sweetly telling him to eat up. Glancing subtly at Fang Yuan, He Qiang looks incredibly awkward. He Qiang mutters that he hates seafood. Another friend quickly speaks up to break the ice, calling them a perfect couple. They ask if the wedding bells are ringing and when they can expect an invite. Bai Ningbing stays silent, but He Qiang smirks and glares right at Fang Yuan. He Qiang smugly invites everyone to come. The friend praises them for staying together all the way since high school.
He recalls a thug cornering Bai Ningbing after school because she rejected his romantic confession.
It was He Qiang who saved her back then, so she had to marry him. He Qiang suddenly looks extremely nervous. Bro, what is he trying to hide here?
Bai Ningbing immediately shoots back, arguing that He Qiang did not even stay with her because of that rescue.
But He Qiang's face looks absolutely terrible now, because deep down he knows that was the exact reason. Fang Yuan just raises an eyebrow, completely caught off guard by this messy history between He Qiang and Bai Ningbing. Turns out they have a whole dramatic past, but honestly, he does not care. He just looks back down.
Suddenly, another of Fang Yuan's friends at the table chimed in, mentioning how Fang Yuan saved a random girl years ago.
Apparently 5 or 6 guys had surrounded her and were harassing her when she refused to go along with them. They started swinging baseball bats, and if Fang Yuan had not jumped in to take that brutal hit for her, that girl literally would not be alive today, the friend complained. Fang Yuan had to drop out of school for 6 months and even transfer because of that injury.
Yet that girl never even thanked him once, even though that bat strike was brutally heavy.
Even now, Fang Yuan's legs still. The friend suddenly cuts himself off, quickly checking Fang Yuan's reaction. Honestly, Fang Yuan does not even care anymore since it all happened so long ago. He never did it for some thank you anyway, but right then, Bai Ningbing's face suddenly goes completely pale.
She abruptly stands up, knocking over cups and plates all across the table.
Red wine spills right down the table onto her dress, but she does not even notice it. Her eyes lock onto Fang Yuan, and her voice starts trembling as she asks him what he just said. He Qiang completely panics. He tells her her dress is dirty and tries to drag her out. But Bai Ningbing violently shakes him off, gritting her teeth as she stares at Fang Yuan.
She demands to know the exact day he saved that girl, leaving Fang Yuan totally confused.
With everyone starting to stare, Fang Yuan really does not want to ruin his friend's big day.
He tries to think back.
It was during the summer of 2014, probably around August. He begs her to sit down before they ruin the wedding. Bai Ningbing's face suddenly goes completely blank, caught somewhere between absolute disbelief and pure shock. Trembling with pure panic, she desperately asks him what his final words to that girl were. Even though it has been a decade, the pain from that day is still incredibly vivid in his mind.
So he clearly remembers telling her not to be afraid. Yeah, those were his exact words.
Bai Ningbing slumps heavily back into her chair, her face contorted in a mix of laughter and tears.
She buries her face in her hands, while He Qiang stands there absolutely frozen.
His face is pale as paper, his entire body shaking as the ugly truth finally comes out.
At this point, guys, even an idiot could put the pieces together, and Fang Yuan just smirks. He realizes that the girl who got him beaten half to death was actually her, calling it a real shame.
He smiles and says if he had known back then, he would have just let them finish her off.
After dropping that absolute bomb, he walks out, and his friends fill him in on the aftermath later.
It turns out, after Fang Yuan saved Bai Ningbing, she had desperately searched for her savior everywhere. But on the night of the attack, He Qiang was actually standing nearby, watching the whole thing unfold.
Since he always had a massive crush on her, he simply took the credit for Fang Yuan's sacrifice.
His friend tells him Bai Ningbing's expression afterward was honestly terrifying to watch. He even sends over a video of He Qiang looking absolutely miserable as he tries to explain himself. His voice shakes as he admits he made a stupid mistake and lied to her back then.
But he desperately begs her, asking if their entire relationship over the years was just a lie. He reminds her that she promised to only love him, even if Fang Yuan was the real savior.
He argues that she never loved Fang Yuan anyway, so finding out the truth shouldn't change her feelings now.
Bai Ningbing glares at him, her face turning as cold as ice.
When she looks at He Qiang, there isn't a single drop of her former affection left. Instead, she's staring him down like her worst enemy. She shoves him away, her freezing voice warning He Qiang that this is far from over. Friends are already laughing at his downfall. He Qiang is completely done. Word is his dad had a secret family and left everything to the illegitimate son.
He only came back hoping to leech onto Bai Ningbing as his golden ticket.
But she instantly froze his cards and snatched back the villa and the cars. And apparently, she isn't even done with him yet. Fang Yuan puts down his phone. His feelings are a total mess, far from the calm face he's putting on.
Honestly, this whole situation is a massive joke. She only liked He Qiang because he took credit for saving her, and then she relentlessly tormented Fang Yuan for him.
In this messed up love triangle, our boy was the only real victim. This is low-key heartbreaking.
Does he hate her? He asks himself, just to save her life back then?
His leg was permanently crippled, yet she repaid him by absolutely destroying his marriage. How could he not hate her? If he could just go back 10 years to that night, he would have never saved her. Later that night, Bai Ningbing stumbles home very late. Stinking of alcohol and completely wasted, he coldly reminds her they are finalizing the divorce tomorrow. "Don't forget," he says, but she slumps onto the couch, slurring her words in reply. She mumbles that she's totally done with He Qiang. He tricked her into funding his family.
She claims she got all the money back, and now his family is completely ruined.
He has absolutely nothing left now. Is Fang Yuan happy with this outcome? He just scoffs. What about her? Doesn't she deserve it even more? Bai Ningbing freezes in shock, then suddenly drops onto her knees. The karma is hitting hard. Startled by her sudden move, Fang Yuan immediately takes a step back, only to watch her raise her hand and slap herself across the face.
She doesn't hold back at all, the hard impact immediately splitting her lip.
Blood begins to trickle down. "What the hell are you doing?" he snaps. He is stunned as she looks up, her eyes completely filled with pure despair. She begs him, saying she finally knows she was wrong. He can hit or curse her. She promises 42% of her company shares as compensation to make things right. She will give it all to him, if only he forgives her. She buries her face. Her shoulders tremble violently in the dead, silent room. Only her quiet whimpering echoes, like a discarded pet begging for mercy. But he stays silent. Back then, his parents actually wanted to take him to the police, but
They later heard those thugs got sliced up. 3 even had their leg tendons severed.
they all ended up completely losing their minds, so his parents dropped the charges. They just wanted to save him from more trauma. So through all of this, he never saw the real culprit from that night again. But He Qiang had a point. Even if she knew the truth back then, would she have actually loved him? Honestly, even without the misunderstanding, if she had still crossed paths with He Qiang,
She probably would have fallen for him anyway, but crying over spilt milk now?
nothing even matters anymore. Signing those divorce papers is the only payback he wants. Fang Yuan's face remains totally blank, but she crawls forward on her knees, crying.
She grabs his legs, panicking and begging him not to leave her.
Bai Ningbing begs Fang Yuan, promising to make things up to him and swearing she will never see another man again.
She pleads with him, claiming she has completely cut ties with He Qiang.
At this point, who would have thought she would pull this kind of dramatic stunt? Honestly, Fang Yuan could only curse in disgust. He bluntly confronts her, asking if she is actually pregnant with a baby from He Qiang, since they were at the clinic. As if he would play the chump. Meanwhile, Bai Ningbing is bawling her eyes out. Her usual high and mighty attitude is completely gone, and she tearfully insists she is not pregnant with a child of He Qiang. Apparently, he was just sick and begged her to tag along because of a chronic health condition he got back in the day.
She keeps claiming she only went to the clinic because she feels indebted to him.
She says she was helping a friend get medicine, but honestly, she was probably just drunk on her own lies. Her behavior is totally different from her usual cold self, and she struggles to find the words. Finally, she croaks out that she actually loves Fang Yuan, but her toxic guilt over He Qiang has always held her back. Because of that guilt, she complied with whatever he wanted, but she never expected Fang Yuan to actually want a divorce. Her immediate reaction was to refuse, and she desperately begs Fang Yuan to believe she has finally woken up. At this point, Fang Yuan is completely done with her excuses and slaps her right across the face. She lets out a sharp groan, her face whipped to the side from the impact. He tells her to stop insulting the word love because she honestly disgusts him.
Fang Yuan says coldly that if he knew she would turn out like this, he wishes she had just died in that alley back then.
Bai Ningbing turns pale as a ghost, staring at him in absolute and utter disbelief.
He grabs the divorce papers and slams the door, but the next day she actually slits her wrists to threaten him.
Since Fang Yuan refuses to show up at the Civil Affairs Bureau, she spams his phone with endless calls.
Her message is simple. She is willing to compensate him, but a divorce is absolutely out of the question.
Fang Yuan is absolutely fuming at how toxic and manipulative this woman really is.
She has already wasted so many years of his life, and just when he is finally about to move on to better things,
this woman still refuses to let him go. Well, if she wants to play dirty,
he is about to make her regret it completely. He takes the 13% company shares gifted by her mother and sells them directly to the second largest shareholder.
Combined with the 32% from that shareholder, they now control 45% of the company, officially overtaking Bai Ningbing.
This power move instantly kicks her off her chairperson throne, throwing all her years of hard work down the drain.
She calls him that very day, her voice sounding incredibly defeated, as she asks why he hates her so much.
But Fang Yuan is totally checked out. He is completely done with all her toxic drama. He gives her a cold, silent response, and after a long pause, she tells him to do whatever he wants.
She says she only wants him to be happy, admitting she cannot bear to lose him a second time.
But her regret is too late. Fang Yuan is taking this fight all the way to the end. He takes things a step further and sues her in court, submitting concrete evidence of her cheating with He Qiang.
Suing twice means she has to sign the papers, like it or not.
Their entire split turns incredibly messy since it involves massive share transfers and the bitter division of their assets. Before long, the entire corporate office is gossiping about their high-profile divorce battle.
Fang Yuan is so swamped with the lawsuit that he cannot even find time to meet up with Shen Youwei.
But as the saying goes, when it rains, it pours. While staying up late to organize his assets, he gets a shock. Bai Ningbing suddenly calls him again, and her voice is shaking violently as she begs him to come to her quickly. She panics, saying her mother is dying, and by the time Fang Yuan rushes over to the hospital, her mother has already regained consciousness, but her face looks extremely pale and weak.
She looks like she is in terrible shape, and Fang Yuan looks down in shame. After all, she was the one who originally gave him those shares.
Yet he turned around and sold them to the biggest business rival of her daughter. Honestly, he might have gone too far. Instead of blaming him, she just weakly waves him over. Her hand can barely lift, but Fang Yuan quickly steps closer. With tear-filled eyes, Bai Ningbing is already crying her heart out.
She tightly grips her mother's hand, quietly sobbing in absolute despair.
Everyone has their time, Bai Ningbing's mom says, squeezing out a faint, painful smile. She pats her daughter, telling her not to cry, her voice growing weaker by the second. But she forces herself to ask Ningbing why she's refusing the divorce. Wiping her tears, Bai Ningbing explains that He Qiang had scammed her all along.
She finally realized that Fang Yuan was her actual savior from back then.
She begs that she cannot lose him again, making her mother deeply sigh. The mother reminds her that Fang Yuan always cherished her, staying by her side daily. Even when she messed around after marriage, he never blamed her and just waited. Now that the truth is out, the mother pauses to rest, closing her eyes. Terrified, Bai Ningbing begs her mother to wake up until the old woman slowly opens her eyes again. Using the last of her fading strength, she whispers her final dying wish.
She demands she promise, and Bai Ningbing nods frantically through her unstoppable tears.
Bai Ningbing promises anything, but her mother tightly grips her hand, demanding she divorce Fang Yuan. The mother gasps that they are not meant to be, so she must stop ruining his life. He is a good boy, she says, leaving Fang Yuan utterly shocked by her final support.
Honestly, the mother-in-law is the real MVP, looking out for him as Bai Ningbing freezes.
After a long silence, she slowly slides down the bed, collapsing onto the cold floor. Her knuckles turn completely white from gripping too hard, her fingernails literally cracking. Blood begins to seep out, but she finally lets go and pulls her hands back. Covering her face, her entire body begins to shake with violent, uncontrollable sobs.
Through her heart-wrenching cries, she finally screams out her agreement. She promises her mother she will divorce him, and with that, her mother's hand goes completely limp.
It drops heavily, and just like that, they spend the next few days handling her funeral.
A few days later, Fang Yuan and Bai Ningbing finally meet up at the registry office.
She looks incredibly thin and frail, her clothes hanging loose in the cold wind.
Right before they step inside, she suddenly stops him to ask if they really must divorce.
She tightly clutches the divorce papers, desperation completely taking over her face.
She begs, reminding him how much he used to love her, admitting she finally knows she messed up.
Asking if they can start over, her expression is honestly so pathetic and desperate.
She begs him to punish her however he wants, promising to accept absolutely any treatment.
All she wants is for him not to abandon her, desperately pleading for another chance.
Hiding her face in tears, she claims she won't even care about his other woman.
He can play around outside all he wants, as long as he still comes home to her. Looking out at the horizon, Fang Yuan sighs and quietly calls out her name. He asks her who she actually loves, him, the scammer He Qiang, or just a shadow?
Or is it just the memory of the person who saved her life all those years ago?
If He Qiang had not lied, would she still have fallen for him instead?
Of course she would have, but Fang Yuan just smiles and shakes his head, because none of it matters.
He begs her to just let him go, telling her straight up that he genuinely does not love her anymore. As the wind blows through her hair, her eyes turn completely bloodshot with realization. Finally squeezing out a tragic smile, she whispers that she is letting him go.
His voice is completely choked up at this point, like every single word is a physical struggle.
He tells her she can have it all, the house, the car, the shares, everything. He is literally walking away with 0 assets, pulling out a brand new agreement. If she doesn't want him anymore, he begs her to at least take the money. But when our girl actually flips through the divorce papers, wait, this is wild.
Bai Ningbing isn't just splitting the marital assets, he is literally handing over every single penny he owns.
We are talking 42% of his company shares transferred straight to her, plus all the movable property.
No real estate, no cash, he kept absolutely nothing. But honestly, she just wants 0 drama with him now. She tries to reject it, but he just smiles miserably. If she doesn't take it, he won't divorce. With no other options, she has to just sign her name on the dotted line. She doesn't even ask what he'll do next, because his future is officially none of her business. No more playing nice, and let me tell you, getting divorced is way faster than getting married. Just like that, they walk out holding those green little divorce booklets. As they step outside, Bai Ningbing has the most conflicted look on his face.
He stares at her without even blinking, but she just casually waves goodbye. He stays dead silent as she hops into her Bentley and drives off. Glancing in the rearview mirror, she can see Bai Ningbing still standing right where she left him.
He hasn't moved an inch, and it honestly looks like he is saying something to her. But she can't hear a thing now. The heavy traffic slowly blocks him from her view. Their 2 worlds are officially split, and he completely vanishes from her sight. She looks away. It's a final goodbye to Bai Ningbing. And she genuinely hopes they never cross paths again. Talk about a super satisfying ending, guys.